Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, I have a fun one today and this is kind of quick and simple, which I'm loving. I'm trying a couple of new things. Now, I have a couple of embossing folders that I have picked today specifically for their lines. Now, I don't know kind of how to say what I want to say, but I'm picking it so that they have these sort of skinny raised lines that I'm going to use when I do the colouring. So this one here is the Daisy Tiles. These are both 3D embossing folders and they just happen to be from Altenew, but any are going to really work for this, but this was just what I wanted to play with. The other one is called Gem Pattern. Now I have gone ahead and embossed these. Now one I did kind of face up and one I did face down. These are 3D, so there are different levels to them and different layers, and these are pretty cool. I must admit, even this as a white background is pretty fun. So you can definitely see those gorgeous lines here. And then with the other one, the Daisy Tiles one, it's sort of a more flat, more consistent sort of height, but again, all those gorgeous little lines. And the reason that I want that is kind of for the puddling, the pooling of the color. I don't know a better way to put it, but I want the color to kind of get trapped in and around those gorgeous lines. Now I'm starting off with a waffle flower. This is, I think it's a stencil mat, but anyhow, I'm loving it as sort of a non-stick surface, a bit of a catch-all do-all for me. And I'm going to be using, this happens to be Prima watercolors, but go for gold. I'm going to show you several ways to do this. You know me, if you watch this channel by now, that you can really just go for gold with what coloring mediums are your favorite, and I'm sure that there's going to be one that will work. Now I am just putting on the blue here, and you can see it kind of is ending, it will end up sort of catching in the puddles. Now bear in mind, when you add a lot of water to something that you have embossed, it's going to, if you add enough water, it's, you know, you're adding water to the paper, so obviously you just need to be careful around how much you add, otherwise you may end up losing some of the image. But I find that there are a few different ways around this. Now you can see just even here that the color is sort of starting to pool a little bit. It just follows those lines, it gets into those kind of cracks and crevices, and that's what I was going for when I was flicking through my embossing folders today. So these are a couple of gorgeous ones that I absolutely love. I did one technique today coming up in just a minute that I absolutely love. So this is the, I think, as I said, it's a Prima watercolor set, but you can use anything that you wish for this technique. I'm going to put this one aside to dry, and then I'm going to move on to this one. This is the tiles, and I just can't help myself but stick to these kind of little circles. Now I had sprayed the background here and with water, which means that the color is going to seep eventually when I let this dry. It means if I wanted it to stay directly in the circles and have really nice, neat sort of circles, then I would have not wet the entire background. And actually, while I was creating this one, I was busy thinking of exactly what I'm going to do next in a whole nother sort of card making session with this embossing folder, because fun, I have some ideas. So I am going to do this sort of all over, and then I end up losing a little bit of footage here, but you'll see at the end it comes together. Then I decided to move on to some ink blending, and this one is just my dream. So the embossing, the raised embossing, ends up catching sort of a little bit more color. So instead of sort of pooling when we use the watercolors in the water, this one is just going to catch the raised. It doesn't leave any white. It's not going to leave any white area the way that I'm doing it, but it definitely catches the gorgeous embossed pieces. So I think I used Uncharted Mariner, Peacock feathers, and then Tumbled glass for the lightest blue. And then I just put a little bit of mint tape, so low-tack tape, sticky side up on my fingers, and that way I can touch the Oxide inks without getting my gorgeous little fingerprints in them. So this one was, honestly, this here was, I think I need to remember this combo because this is gorgeous to me. I really, really like that. And so knowing that I really like this, I packed these all away, and then I decided that actually I probably need to do this one again because I just really like that one. So I took the other one and the gem pattern and decided to do it with that one as well. Now, the other really interesting thing when I was doing this one is this is kind of the reverse, and it leaves the lines, because of the way that I've embossed this, it leaves them white. And so again, this highlights this absolutely gorgeously. Now, this is exactly what I wanted when I was thinking of the embossing folders that I was choosing for this technique, and I just think it looks stunning. And then as well as the fact that it's actually sort of quite 3D in person, in real life, is absolutely stunning. So love this combo. I love that you can catch all of those different lines with the different amounts of ink. I just really like this. Anyhow, here are the finished 4 versions of this. I was just having a play, and sometimes I have to remind myself to stop and then carry on with the process. Sometimes it's nice to have a big background making session. Sometimes I had one particular product that I was excited to use today, so I wanted to move on to the next thing. So, you know me, I like to keep things simple, I like to move them along, and I don't have all the time in the world all the time, so I am going to always look for things that make life easier, and one of those for me today is using these rub-ons from scrapbook.com. There are lots of rub-ons on the market. If you've watched my channel before, you'll know that I love and adore the 49N market, but I love these ones because these are, I think they're actually called card making sentiments or something sentiments, and this is just perfect for me. So these big, gorgeous, bold sentiments that can really work with any background. So I'm going to have a little bit of fun creating with these today. Now with rub-ons, I prefer, and this is just a personal preference thing, I prefer to cut them out. That way I know I'm not going to damage or accidentally adhere one that I didn't mean to. And it just means that I can definitely get full use of everything without ruining any. So I do cut out a couple of the gold butterflies as well. And then I am going to use some vellum today because, as I said, these are big sentiments, but I don't want to lose the entire background. So I'm going to use some vellum, and by the time we stick this down, I think this is the perfect amount of background showing and of the gorgeous sentiments. So I am going to pop this one down. My strip of vellum is just the strips that I had in the package. I use the Lawn Fawn vellum. It's a heavier weight vellum. I think it's 36 pound, and it means that it's very versatile. I can heat emboss on it. I can dry emboss through embossing folders and things like that. All the good things, just because it's a little bit heavier. So I knew that it was going to cope perfectly fine. It wouldn't get any dents or scratchings or anything whilst I was doing the rubbing onto it, and these rub-ons go on like a dream. They are very easy to adhere, but I guess that means that if you were trying to do the whole sheet and just catch a little bit, I would be scared, I'd be worried that I would accidentally catch one of another design. So another good reason why I like to cut them out. I'm just putting a butterfly above and below. As I said, simple designs, quick, simple, easy, and I have these gorgeous cards. And in fact, I think this one might be my favorite. I actually thought this one was going to kind of move along quickly, but I end up loving this one. So I have put a little bit of double-sided adhesive on the top and the bottom, but the good thing about these letters is that they are black and they are wide enough that I can sneak a little bit of the double-sided adhesive tape onto the back of some of the letters. This is going to stop any gaping. Now, personal preference again, I prefer to have the vellum sitting a little bit more flat for a couple of reasons. One, I don't like that gaping effect that you can get with vellum, and two, it means that with the vellum sitting closer to the background, I'm going to be able to see the background more clearly. So kind of the more gaping you have, the more opaque the vellum sort of ends up looking, I guess. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but it does in my head anyhow. So the closer the vellum is to kind of the background, the more I can see the background through it. So then I add a double-sided tape all around the outside. I cut off any of the excess vellum that was on the back from me popping it around the back to secure it, and then I'm just going to pop this down onto a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base, just using my little trick to pop out all of the 4 tabs so I can get this nice and even. But watch this, I'm not sure along the way what happened to my measuring. I'm not sure where. I do make all my own card fronts and card bases, but the great thing about that is that I can just whip a little bit off the top here and no one's going to know that something wasn't quite right with my measuring. So we are good to go again, and it will be just fine. So gorgeous finished card. And this card, finishing it really took me no time, and I mean no time at all. So I'm moving on to the next one. This one is going to be the Thinking of You, and I'm going to do my other favorite background, that gorgeous, gorgeous blend. And I'm going to do very, very similar. So I'm going to skip through this pretty fast just because you get the gist of it. I'm going to add 3 little solid gold butterflies to this one. I just thought that was really nice, and I'm going to have them kind of fluttering, floating up above the sentiment. I want the sentiment down low on this one. So yeah. And again, this just goes on so nicely. They do give you a little popsicle stick that you can use to pop these on. I found this perfect. You can use a bone folder. You can really use anything. These go on like a dream, as I said. So whatever you have handy, popped the sentiment on, pop the little butterflies on, 1, 2, 3 up above it, and really good to go. Lots of different sentiments, lots of different choices. So for me, this was a good investment. I enjoy this kind of thing. I really enjoy rub-ons, and I have a lot of videos on my channel using these. Not necessarily this particular one, but as I said, the 49er Market ones are stunning, absolutely gorgeous, and I have been loving using those in lots of different ways in card making. Now with these letters here, they are much skinnier than the ones before, but I have still managed to pop some adhesive on the back. Now it's always a trick when we're adhering vellum that you do have to be a little bit careful, because as usual, adhesives are going to show through. Lots of adhesives that you have on hand are going to show through. But there's always ways and tricks, and honestly, with a little bit overhanging some of these letters, you are never going to see it and never going to know. So even though it's not perfectly behind these letters, I took a really close look and I can't see anything, so it is well hidden, and again it stops that gaping because we've got quite a big amount of vellum really covering the front panel of our card. So I press it down gently, and then again I've got the 2 bits at the back ready to go. I just had enough room to kind of rearrange my vellum, because I ended up wanting the sentiment, as I said, to a little bit lower down to the bottom. And then just because this one here, I'm keeping these super simple, I think the sentiment is really big and bold. I think the butterflies add a nice little finishing touch, just a little bit, but I thought this needed a little bit more. Now you could go ahead and add some Nuvo drops, but that's always dangerous on vellum. You could add some enamel dots, something like that, but I chose to go with the gold. And this is the Altenew, it's a metallic set, I don't know what it is, metallic watercolors. Everything will be linked down below, including these gorgeous rub-ons if you'd like to check them out. But I just got a tiny, tiny fine brush and did some really fine splatters of gold. And that way I'm just sort of adding a little bit more of those gorgeous gold butterflies, shining around the place a little bit with the gold flicks. So I thought that this was fun. You do have to be careful, my flicks got a little bit out of control, so just quickly wipe them off, and then that will be absolutely fine. But as I said, adding a little bit of gold touch. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video today. I had so much fun creating this one. These backgrounds are stunning. The rub-ons were so easy to use, very effective, and I was really happy. I just really enjoyed this. So I hope that you've enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for joining me. As I said, there will be links down below in the description box as well if you'd like to support me through the Buy Me a Coffee website where you can support the channel. I would appreciate that so much. Other than that, I really look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, bye!